Alright, so it's another cold January day, and let's talk about evil roosters. They are, if you're homesteading, you definitely need a rooster. It's kind of like a necessary evil. And believe it or not, I actually have 4 roosters. I need to get rid of some of them. I have way too many. But there are some times when you'd want a rooster. And take a look at my new netting to keep the hawks out. Pretty awesome. I haven't quite figured out the door yet. I've been using binder clips just to kind of hold it together around the door, which is kind of my quick solution to get in here. I think eventually I want to expand this so I can actually go all the way back there, and then there's another whole area back there. Eventually, at some point, I want to expand it. But look, I have 3 roosters right here, and I'd say in most cases it's extremely difficult to keep more than one with a flock that don't fight a lot. You can see the other thing with the roosters is they have bigger combs. You can see they get a little bit of frostbite. They actually have a heated coop here. If they could stay in the coop all the time, they wouldn't get frostbite. But they come out here and it just gets really cold. And if you notice, my aviary, my bird netting is completely empty because all the birds are in here because they were dive bombed by something. I didn't see it. I heard some commotion. They're all dive bombed. Oh, let me see if I can hook this door up. And they don't realize yet. I just put that net up last night to protect them from the hawks. Look at you guys. Oh my goodness. Let's go outside. Let's go outside. Oh my goodness. Let's go outside. All right. Look at all the birds. They're still kind of in shell shock from the hawk. So why would you want to keep more than one rooster? Well, in my particular flock here, I actually started with 6 roosters. I grew them up from eggs. I hatched them out. And when that hawk came down, the roosters are supposed to protect your flock from hawks. And for me, the roosters were like a sacrificial bird. That they were the first to attack the hawk. Of course, they were the first to get killed by the hawk. So I actually lost 2 roosters right away. So this is a full-size rooster there, and I think I still have 4 of them. It's been a while since I counted my roosters. Yeah, I got one in the back. So I got that one, these 2, and of course the roosters are the males. I got another one back here. And only the hens lay eggs. So obviously if you had all roosters, they wouldn't lay any eggs. You would just have roosters. Pet roosters, a lot of pets. And kind of the weird thing is if you have one rooster with your whole flock of birds, usually it's completely fine. So one rooster with all the hens, there's usually almost no aggression. But then when you have more than one rooster, especially when you have hens, you have a lot of fighting between the roosters. And what you'll normally find is when you hatch out some eggs, especially like a straight run, you'll have like half roosters and half hens, and they'll be fine as they're growing up, and all of a sudden they'll reach a certain age where those roosters will just turn mean and they'll start fighting with each other like crazy. And at that point, usually you have to get rid of them. Kind of the weird thing with this flock is when I started losing birds from that hawk, I lost 2 roosters right when they were like at their prime of fighting, and it seemed like for whatever reason that hawk just kind of changed their whole attitude to where they're not fighting hardly at all anymore. They're mostly, I think, still in shell shock from those hawks. So the other reason why you want more than one rooster is this kind of happened to me last year. Is where I was actually selling hatching eggs. on eBay from these black Australorps. And I had a whole bunch of roosters and I sold all of them but one. And then of course the hawk got the last one. And that is the problem if you have only one rooster and something takes it out. And luckily I actually had some hatching eggs. And they were fertile hatching eggs that I just collected. And luckily I was able to still hatch out some eggs and revive my flock. And that's where all these roosters came from. The other thing that's kind of interesting, if you've ever heard of this, they say if you have a whole flock of all roosters, they won't fight at all. And one year I kind of tested this out. At the time I was getting out of chickens, and I thought, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna raise up some chickens. This is my last birds that I'm gonna raise for a while. I want to take a break from chickens, and I want to just keep all roosters and sell all the hens. And I had like 6 roosters with no hens at all, and they were perfect gentlemen. No fighting at all between any of the roosters. So if you have all roosters and no hens, you can do it, and it works really well. And then last year, I tried to do something a little different last year. So I hatched out a whole bunch of birds and got a whole bunch of roosters. So what I did is I took all my roosters and I put them over here because they were fighting really bad. And actually put them at the far end, way over there. I can actually show you through here. This was all open until I put the netting in through here. Don't want any birds to get out now. But what I did is I put all the roosters over on this end before I had a hawk problem. That was fine. It's funny, you can go for years and years without a hawk, and then all of a sudden you get a hawk that kind of wipes you out one after the other. So I had all my roosters over here, and the problem is the roosters would stand right over here, and I had a little barrier right here, and they could see the hens all the way down there. And just the visual appearance of the hens from there, I couldn't even believe they could see that. They can actually tell there were female chickens over there. And just looking at those hens, they fought like crazy over here, which was completely opposite of what I've seen. If you have a whole bunch of roosters and with no hens in a visual distance to where they can see any of the hens. So that's kind of interesting. I kind of wanted to show you this, my final setup for my bird netting. I just finished this like at midnight last night. Put all this netting up because the hawk was like wiping me out. And I just kind of put these strings to hold the net back right here, which is pretty nice. You can walk through here. Came out really nice if you look at the top. I could definitely walk. These are 8-foot poles up here, way up. I can't even touch the top of the pole hardly, way up there. Of course, I'm 6'4", so it's really tall. And then I use zip ties all along the ends. And for all my excess net, I just kind of rolled it up and did a zip tie of the rolled net because it's kind of a weird shape over here. But yeah, it's totally protected from the hawks now, which is pretty cool. But every time a bird flies by, they all run into the coop and they're all afraid to come out because we've had, just in the last month, we've had 2 ducks and 2 roosters that got killed, and they killed them right in here, right in front of all the other birds. So they're really shell-shocked, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, the other thing about the roosters is this is kind of like how I started. So I actually started with all these birds. I actually started with chickens, a whole bunch of chickens, and I just bought hens at the very beginning. And if you notice on your hens, especially if you're just getting into chickens, they'll start laying eggs, and then after a while you get fewer and fewer eggs, and pretty soon you will get no eggs at all. Well, you know, in the winter usually you don't get that many. I think out of all these birds I only got like 2 eggs today, but usually you'll get fewer and fewer eggs until you don't get any at all. So you need a rooster to mate with your hens, so then all the eggs are fertile, and then you can actually hatch the fertile hatching eggs, which is what you need to keep the flock going. Now what I like to do is I like to take my old hens, and a good way to get rid of them, you know, if you don't want to eat your old pet birds, good way to get rid of them is to sell them on like Craigslist, and you know, sell them real cheap for like $10 a piece or something. And people will buy them, just say, you know, retired breeder or something like that, which works pretty good. So I would say if you're homesteading, you definitely need a rooster. At least one, I would say. But the problem is I would actually, you know, hold some hatching eggs back, or some fresh eggs. They say you can hatch eggs like 2 weeks after you collect them. So if something happens to your rooster, you can hatch out some more chickens. One more thing I wanted to show you is the baby cow, 3 days old. So this guy's doing great over here. Kind of kick him back right in with mama. These are Black Angus cattle. This is actually a bull calf. I named him Little Kicker. Such a cute little cow. And I've been feeding him alfalfa because we've been having really bad droughts up here. And I'm actually in the mountains of Colorado. And look at this guy, so cute. I'm taming him down. He's a cutie, huh? You definitely have to tame them down when they're young. You gotta pet them quite a bit. I'll come in a couple times a day and just kind of touch them and tame them down. Because if they get, you know, if they get to be like a week and you can't catch them, then it's pretty much too late. They're wild at that point. I've had some cows that, yeah, if you don't touch them or tame them down at the very beginning, they get really wild. You can't even get near them. And you know, if they have, you know, something on their fur, something you want to get it off, or you know, trim some nails or something like that. Like mama, she's a baby here. And the other thing, the interesting thing about that cow is it's kind of deceiving, because that cow will actually get as big as this bull. I got to show you my bull over here. This is T-Bone. T-Bone is a monster. And I have a steer and another bull calf over here. It's kind of like my backup bull. Yeah, I have one female, one cow, and then 3 boys. But if anything happens to, you know, the female or any of the boys, it's nice to have duplicates. So this is the guy. This guy's still a little skittish. I don't know why. A little bit skittish. Ow! Bit me. And then this is the steer. He's a friendly cow. He's getting big. On that alfalfa, he's just growing like a rocket. And then T-Bone, 3,000-pound massive bull, which is friendly as can be. It's funny, people come into the barnyard and they're like, "That cow's huge, I'm so afraid of it." And he's just a sweetie. Look at this weird snow. It's almost like micro balls of almost hail, kind of weird snow. And look at this alfalfa I'm feeding them. The best alfalfa I think I've probably ever seen. I got lucky with that. All right, so that's the deal on the roosters. I would say the other thing about the roosters is the noise. Of course, a lot of cities have ordinances to where you can't have a rooster. So that's the other thing. Can't have a rooster, then you have to keep buying hatching eggs from someone else if you want to keep your flock going. But I'm up here in the mountains of Colorado, in the middle of nowhere, and it's, yeah, I can have 6 roosters crowing, no problem at all. There's nobody up here to complain about the roosters. So There you have it. And look, I completely enclosed the whole thing with this netting. All right, I'll put my hat back on because it's snowing. Yeah, this aviary is pretty nice. Absolutely love this netting. All right, there you have it. If you can get a rooster, get one. For more than one rooster in a flock like this, I probably would advise against it. If you have multiple roosters, as a matter of fact, if you could find someone who wants like 5 pet roosters and you can give them all your extra roosters just as pets, that would be ideal, because then if something happened to your rooster, you could actually take one of their roosters. As long as they don't have hens, the roosters wouldn't fight, which is pretty neat. All right, there you go, guys. That's pretty much it. That's my rooster story about the necessary evil of roosters. So thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you in the next video.